PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is the modern word that we use for shell shock. And then before that, it was first shell shock from World War I, all these bombs, and then battle fatigue when America and parts of Europe and Australia were involved in Vietnam, and now PTSD. And so that's different than a normal performance anxiety where you're functioning, but you're feeling like you can't get your second serve in because you missed it on the last big point, or you missed it. You did two double faults in a row. So you may have performance anxiety. PTSD, as you know, is where you completely shut down and you're,
Yes.
you even breathing seems like a challenge to you, because you've got so much going on in urology it's kind of short-circuited your brain. So maybe share with you, Will, if you've got some thoughts on the difference between performance anxiety and your double faults, et cetera, and your PTSD syndromes.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's two different specimens in terms of PTSD. Is a whole different realm of what's going on in the body compared to normal, whether we call it worries or performance anxiety. It's two different categories in terms of intensity.
One pro that I worked with in Florida, he and his being trained to be a better pro, which I think is really helpful when pros do their continuing ed, follow YouTube, read books, talk to other pros, really listen to their students. I think that's so wonderful when they're constantly advancing their being a good coach and their learning skills. And when I told him I had some performance anxiety about certain shots, including the second serve, he said, well, one of the first things that he learned in his coaching clinics was you start out with the skills. So you've got the tactical side of your second serve. Then you can move into things like breathing. And today in my lesson that I had for about an hour, they talked about how Nadal, when he hits, even in practice, he's doing his breathing and his grunting, and he really rips it. He doesn't do a lot of, according to what this pro today told me when he worked with in a clinic where Nadal was coaching people, Nadal was really hitting out on his shots most of the time. Whereas I in my practices, I do dink 'em, up close to the net from the service line. I do shots like serves at 40% effort and 40% speed. So I'm doing lots of this, but according to what I learned today, Nadal's recent training as of 2 years ago, before COVID, so 2.5 years ago, was more hitting out and really going for his shots. And I saw a video of Federer training with a European guy, and I'll send you the video. You might know this person who's a top 50 pro from a country, either Denmark or Holland. And in this practice that they're doing for an hour, amazing how hard and how much thrust, I would say, that Federer is putting into even his practice shots.
Yeah, it makes sense to me that the intensity you bring in practices also in some ways become what you're getting used to. It becomes your routines and what you also fall down to, and what you get back to during matches. So the standard that you're practicing under would probably also be some kind of the standard that you're then bringing to the match court. One American coach that I worked together with for a period of time, called Dave Bandelin, he had a quite good expression. I thought that wasn't necessarily on intensity, but it was more on what you chose to have as content of your practices. He said, be very careful of the way that you practice, because what you practice, you typically become better at.